I don't know. I was just looking all over the web about them today, and I came across a website which I can't vouch for at all, called In Her Sight, which claims that it's a women-rated company search. So women go on here and review companies about, if they're any good. I've never come across it before, but it has rated Activision Blizzard, and it's given them 2.5 stars out of 5. However, I mention it because there's 244 ratings for them. But they do get 5 stars for their support for diversity. When people asked about their support for diversity, they were given, they've achieved 5 stars. So it says they've got a section called culture, and they say they got 5 stars for people and programs that prioritize diversity, inclusion, equity, and belonging. And they also got 5 stars for sense of belonging, comfortable bringing your whole self to work, you feel included and welcomed, which is really interesting because the 3 reviews that there were on the site were all basically saying, when I went into a meeting and I had an opinion, I was treated like I didn't know what I was talking about. I only got paid $10 an hour when I was working a 6-month contract, and we were working ridiculous hours, and we weren't getting any breaks. The management are highly strung, and they're basically pat themselves on the back for attending women in the workforce meetings, but then actually don't talk to any women if they're talking about anything other than lipstick colours, is what she says. So I think it's really interesting because I think it's important to say that because clearly somebody's giving them these reviews. And I think it's quite interesting because there's obviously some contradictions. So it may be that there are specific sections within the organisation where it is a problem, and in other areas it's not, and or it's not as much of a problem. So I think it will be interesting to see what comes out of the case.
Certainly, yes,
and I think that is a good thing about it being a legal process rather than, say, the Me Too movement, which
because they're going to go into every little thing, aren't they?
Yeah. So it'd be interesting to see how they,
But there's a couple more of their values. I will just put them up. Have we done that one? Think globally. Everywhere on the planet there are people who play Blizzard Entertainment games. While respecting the cultural diversity that makes people unique, we strive to grow and support our global gaming community. We also seek the most passionate, talented people in the world to enrich our company and help us forge the future vision of Blizzard Entertainment. So yes, that's another one, again, which relates particularly to diversity. Like Jem said, it might be that in some areas it's doing very well, but we shall find out as and when the case progresses. And I think there was one last one. Oh, sorry, Matt, did you want to chip in?
Have any of you heard, there was a TED talk by a Muslim guy, and it was called Please Stop Making Me Kill Myself. And it was about how Arab people are represented in games. And of course, Call of Duty, it's the only time you see Arab people is when they're terrorists wielding Kalashnikovs screaming in some Middle Eastern language. So it's all just nonsense PR stuff that they've never been called out on before, which is why they're so blazing, because they don't get called out and they don't face consequences. When they get called out enough, then that's when they might start making a few changes.
Yeah. And I'm hopeful that this is going to be so massive that things are going to change, and hopefully it will make other companies take a look at their own actions and see what they can do to avoid another Activision Blizzard, because it's big things like this that actually lead to really good policies that can actually be acted out and have measurable targets and things like that. It's only usually as the result of a massive disaster, because people are like, oh shit, we need to do much better. There was one last one, I believe. This may or may not be it. which is lead responsibly. Our products and practices can affect not only our employees and players, but the industry at large. As one of the world's leading game companies, we're committed to making ethical decisions, always keeping our players in mind, and setting a strong example of professionalism and excellence at all times.
That's fine. If they do it, they should go into court and say, these are your core goals.
Yeah.
If you live up to them, you'll be fine, but you're not. You're not leading responsibly. And that was the point I was trying to make about the relationship between leader and the people they're leading. The people leading, you really need to put serious thought into what it means to be a leader. Because it's if you think about it honestly and objectively, it is serious responsibility, which is why you're not in charge because you're inherently superior. You've been given this power, this authority over these people. It's not your power. It's something that you have been given. You've been vested in for a while. So when ego takes over, that's when you start abusing your power because you think it's my power. And that's partially why the political systems are so screwed up, because they feel no responsibility to the people they're leading. They want to say, I'm a leader. But you imagine if you were in charge of the country right now and your ineptitude had led to the 100,000 deaths of COVID, you would, if you cared, imagine for a second, if I was Prime Minister tomorrow, you are responsible for the lives and well-being of 70 million people. And that's what they just don't think about, because they just think power's power. I deserve to be powerful. They don't think I am responsible for all of this. That's the serious conversation that people in positions of power need to have with themselves. And that's when because if you care most about the people you're leading, then that's when the best things happen, because they know that you're in their corner and you're looking after them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But it's important for people who lead. They seriously need to think about what they're doing.
Yeah. My final question, I can make it into two really, which was basically what you've more or less explained already, which is what can be done to change attitudes / if you were in charge, what would you do at this point in time? Jem, did you want to?
Well, yeah. I mean, I think what I've already said, I would get in outside people to because I think that there has to be an acknowledgement. But before you can fix any problem, you have to acknowledge that there is a problem. And I think that if you honestly do that, then you would honestly be able to say, do you know what? We have these values that say all the right things, and we're clearly not living up to them. So there's a problem here, and if we could have fixed it, we would have fixed it. So we obviously can't, for whatever reason, unconscious bias, just general arseholery. I don't know. I think that would be the first thing to do, to just admit that we can't fix this, and bring people in who can. And I think also to recognise that the games industry is massive. The games industry is massive, and they are making games that are influencing generations, and well, I would argue and plenty of middle-aged people, because the average age of gamers is 34 now, so it's a whole host of people from all walks of life, and we've talked about this before, they do have a duty of care. They have an influential position, and they have a duty to be responsible with that. And I know that culture wars and current thinking would have you say that, well, it all depends on where you stand. It's all about perspective and all of that. But I'm sorry, I don't think that it's about perspective being respectful to your fellow humans. I don't feel that is anything to have a debate about. That to me is the basis of where we start. So I don't even want to get into that conversation. So they have a duty of care, they have a duty of responsibility, and and they should take that seriously. And so I think that, you know, the people at the top need to go. New people need to come in and give them some support. And, you know, and people who've been at the company for 18 years, but I don't know, what have they been doing all this time? You know, clearly not the things that need to be done. It's just nepotism again, isn't it, really?
Yeah.
An opportunity to promote your mates.
Mm-hmm.
You've just, everything that my waffling about leadership then, you summed up perfectly in 3 words: duty of care. That's what a leader has. It's a fantastic phrase. You've used it before, and I think I remember saying it's one of the best comments made on the podcast. Your duty, leaders have the duty of care, and because it's baked into the system and everyone there is tainted in some way. This could, the shareholders. Well, what you could do, you could turn this into the biggest like turnaround and victory for Activision Blizzard. If you go, okay, so the people at the top, you go, right, we're going to sacrifice the people at the top. We're going to say this is the fish rots from the head. These are the problem people. We're going to bring in these new people. We're going to bring in an independent auditor, and they are going to cleanse the rot from this place. And then we are going to make Activision Blizzard the shining beacon of diversity, equality, safe working place. We are going to make this the industry standard and put all other companies to shame, because we have been letting down our people and we deserve to be punished for it. That's what these lawsuits are going to do. We are going to rebuild the image that we have squandered, and we're going to make ourselves into the shining example of what a brilliant workplace should be. And then actually lean into it and do it. Because if you're actually doing it, you can be as vocal as you like.
Yeah.
And then they'll be able to go, wow.
Oh, yes, you are doing it. Yeah.
And then they'll be able to go, we're better than all of you. We had our demons and we defeated them all. And now you're all pretending you're perfect, but you're just like us. And no one wants to throw stones in glass houses. That's why that's why everywhere else in every industry is silent whenever a big thing happens like this to one company.
Well, that was one of the things about Gamergate, actually, which is why I wanted to mention it, because I think that it is important, because when I was researching this, it came up just as, we are now 7 years on from that. Why are we still having this conversation? And I think the thing is that when I went back and read about it, that, what they were saying is that the games industry was really silent on that whole debacle, and that's the problem. The games industry sat there and went, nothing to do with us, nothing to do with us. And yet it was, because these are the people who are, designing the games. These are the people that are playing the games. These are the people that are selling the games. These were people who were very much involved with the games industry. And the fact that the games industry just went, it's not our problem, and then have learnt nothing from that. And then now, they are now linking, things like Gamergate. I mean, it's not the only example, but things like Gamergate with the rise of the alt-right on the internet, and the extreme. What is it when you extreme? Anyway, the extremifying, I'm making a new word, extremifying of people, radicalizing, that's the word, radicalizing of people, online as a concerted effort. These are small groups of people who are deliberately agitating to cause, to bring people over to a different side. And that was an example of something where the games industry could have stepped up and gone, no, this is not us, not in our name. This is not how we want it to be. But they didn't. So that's why I'm not surprised that we're in this situation. Yeah. And I think probably many other games companies have the same issues to various degrees. I mean, we know that because we talk about the lack of diversity in our games. We talk about the lack of women in the games industry. So, but I do think, it is, I do have hope that it is changing. I think this is the death throes of this old system.
That's because now their money is under threat.
Exactly.
Now that particularly younger people are becoming more inclusive and diverse, they're going, I don't want to play a game where the only woman in it is just naked all the time, and it's a strong man killing things and being racist and sexist. Absolutely. They're going to go, okay, we made those games because that's what we want to make. But then you go, oh, we don't make what we want to make. We make what's going to make us the most money.
Yeah.
And the reason they didn't say anything in Gamergate was because there wasn't anything legal coming in to threaten them. So the status quo is fine for us.
Yeah.
Just
exactly.
Ignore it for now. Money is on the line.
No, I would hope it should be a moment for a big turnaround for Activision and a kind of triumph, as you say, Matt. But I think one of my fears is there's probably quite a high risk of a lot of this being a tick box exercise, and I'm just going to bring in some analysis I have previously done about policy development and policy implementation, just to get extra nerdy with you all. So this is from, actually, it's all about government policy in this country and serious implementation challenges that remain throughout a policy life cycle. Sorry if you can't read it, I know it is small, but it points out things like not being enough proactive proposals for departments on what to do. A policy is formed without considering implementation sufficiently. There's not enough focus on priorities, things like that. One of the key things is the lack of effective incentives or accountability, which is something we've talked about. But again, a lot of these things can get missed and in the process of policy implementation, which is where I think a lot of it falls down. And in terms of buy-in, I think that's going to be a massive problem, is getting everyone to buy into whatever new policy comes out of this after the lawsuit, hopefully. And the problem there is that people don't understand that what really matters out of this is, as we've mentioned, a duty of care, because at the end of the day, it's about people's lives, and people's lives are being impacted by these poor practices. And unless you can get everybody to get on board with that fact, nothing is going to change. And so hopefully it will change. But that is one of the biggest risks that remains at this point in time, because that's what always happens with policies like this. But